The Industrial Revolution, a period of profound transformation, irrevocably reshaped the American landscape, and in doing so, forged the very fabric of what we now recognize as the American dream. This is not merely a tale of machines and factories. It is the epic saga of human ambition, ingenuity, and the relentless pursuit of a better life that blossomed amidst the smoke and clangor of a nascent industrial power. From the humble agrarian beginnings of a young republic, America surged forward, propelled by steam, steel, and an unshakable belief in progress. This is the story of how a nation, still finding its footing, harnessed the raw power of innovation to build an economic colossus, creating opportunities and challenges that would define generations and lay the groundwork for a dream that continues to inspire.
The seeds of the American Industrial Revolution were sown in the late 18th century, even as the ink was drying on the Constitution. While Britain jealously guarded its technological secrets, particularly in textile manufacturing, American entrepreneurs and inventors were eager to catch up. Samuel Slater, often called the father of the American Industrial Revolution, was one such figure. Having worked in British textile mills, Slater possessed an intimate knowledge of the machinery. In 1789, he emigrated to the United States, carrying in his mind, not on paper, the designs for advanced textile machinery. His arrival marked a pivotal moment. With the backing of Moses Brown, a Quaker merchant, Slater established the first successful water-powered textile mill in Pawtucket, Rhode Island in 1793. This mill, known as Slater's Mill, was a rudimentary operation by today's standards, but it was a groundbreaking achievement, bringing mechanized cotton spinning to American shores.
Slater's success was not an isolated incident. It was a catalyst. His mill demonstrated the viability of factory production in America, attracting further investment and sparking a wave of industrial development, particularly in New England. The region, with its abundant rivers and streams, provided the perfect natural infrastructure for water-powered mills. Soon, mill towns began to spring up along these waterways, transforming rural landscapes into centers of industry. These towns, like Lowell, Massachusetts, became crucibles of social and economic experimentation. Francis Cabot Lowell, another visionary, played a crucial role in developing the Lowell system, a comprehensive approach to textile manufacturing that integrated all stages of production, from raw cotton to finished cloth, under one roof.
The Lowell system was notable not only for its technological advancements, but also for its unique labor model. Unlike the factory systems in Britain, which often relied on the labor of impoverished families, Lowell initially sought to attract young, unmarried women from New England farms, the Lowell Mill Girls. These women were offered relatively good wages, supervised boarding houses, cultural activities, and educational opportunities. For many, factory work offered an unprecedented degree of economic independence and a chance to escape the drudgery of farm life. They formed a distinct community, publishing their own literary magazines and engaging in early forms of labor activism. This period represents a fascinating, albeit temporary chapter where industrialization offered a pathway to empowerment for a segment of the workforce.
However, the idyllic vision of the Lowell system eventually succumbed to the pressures of competition and increasing demands for profit. As the Industrial Revolution matured, conditions in the mills deteriorated, wages stagnated, and hours lengthened. The initially empowered mill girls found themselves increasingly exploited, leading to strikes and protests that, while largely unsuccessful in the short term, laid important groundwork for future labor movements. The promise of the American dream, initially seemingly within reach for these women, began to recede, revealing the harsh realities often hidden beneath the surface of rapid industrial expansion. This shift highlighted the growing tension between the pursuit of profit and the welfare of the workforce, a conflict that would define much of the industrial era. Beyond textiles, the Industrial Revolution was profoundly shaped by advancements in other critical sectors. Eli Whitney's invention of the cotton gin in 1793 dramatically increased the efficiency of cotton processing, making cotton cultivation immensely profitable in the southern states. While not a manufacturing innovation in itself, the cotton gin had massive implications for both industry and society. It solidified the South's reliance on slave labor to meet the burgeoning demand for raw cotton from Northern and British mills, intertwining the industrial boom with the tragic expansion of slavery. Whitney is also credited with popularizing the concept of interchangeable parts. While the idea had roots elsewhere, Whitney's work on muskets for the U.S. government demonstrated the practical application of manufacturing components to such precise specifications that they could be swapped between different finished products. This innovation was revolutionary. It moved manufacturing away from the craftsman model, where each product was custom-made, towards mass production. Interchangeable parts reduced the need for highly skilled laborers, simplified repairs, and drastically lowered production costs, making goods more accessible to the average American and fueling consumerism.
The development of steam power was another game changer. James Watt's improvements to the steam engine in Britain laid the groundwork, but American engineers quickly adapted and innovated. Robert Fulton's steamboat, the Clermont, successfully navigated the Hudson River in 1807, demonstrating the commercial viability of steam-powered water travel. This invention revolutionized transportation, making it faster and more efficient to move goods and people across vast distances, connecting interior regions to coastal markets. Rivers and canals, once the primary arteries of commerce, now thrummed with the rhythmic churn of paddle wheels. However, it was the advent of the railroad that truly cemented America's industrial might and transformed its geography. Beginning with short lines in the 1820s and 30s, the railroad network rapidly expanded, eventually crisscrossing the entire continent. Trains could transport goods and raw materials at speeds and volumes previously unimaginable, opening up new markets, fueling westward expansion, and creating an enormous demand for coal, iron, and steel. The building of the railroads themselves became a massive industrial undertaking, requiring vast capital, legions of laborers, and sophisticated engineering. The iconic image of the iron horse became a powerful symbol of progress and modernity, shrinking distances and binding the nation together. The growth of heavy industries, coal mining, iron production, and eventually steel making provided the backbone for this expansion. The insatiable demand for fuel and materials for factories, steamboats, and railroads spurred innovation in extractive industries and metallurgy. Pennsylvania, with its rich coal and iron deposits, became a national hub for these vital resources, transforming once pristine valleys into smoky, bustling industrial landscapes. The skilled labor required for these industries, though often dangerous and grueling, contributed significantly to the burgeoning working class and offered opportunities for many immigrants seeking a foothold in America.
The Civil War, 1861 to 1865, acted as an unexpected accelerator for American industrialization. The Union's victory was, in many ways, a testament to its superior industrial capacity. Northern factories churned out weapons, uniforms, and supplies at an unprecedented rate, while the extensive railroad network efficiently moved troops and materiel. The war necessitated rapid innovation in production methods and logistics, pushing American industry to new levels of output and efficiency. After the war, this expanded industrial base, coupled with a unified national market and pro-business government policies, set the stage for an even more explosive period of growth.
The post-Civil War era, often called the Gilded Age, witnessed the rise of industrial titans and colossal corporations. Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish immigrant who started as a bobbin boy, built a steel empire through shrewd business practices, technological innovation, adopting the Bessemer process for steelmaking, and vertical integration, controlling every step from raw materials to finished product. His story, from poverty to immense wealth, became a quintessential example of the rags to riches narrative, fueling the American dream.
John D. Rockefeller, another titan, revolutionized the oil industry. Recognizing the chaos and inefficiency of early oil production, he systematically acquired refineries, pipelines, and distribution networks, creating Standard Oil, a near monopoly that controlled a vast percentage of the world's oil supply. His ruthless business tactics and relentless pursuit of efficiency made him the wealthiest American of his time, but also a controversial figure, emblematic of both the opportunities and the ethical dilemmas of unchecked industrial power. J.P. Morgan, a powerful financier, played a crucial role in consolidating and rationalizing American industry. Through his banking firm, he financed railroads, steel companies, and electrical companies, often orchestrating massive mergers that created even larger industrial entities. Morgan represented the growing influence of finance capital in shaping the industrial landscape, his decisions impacting thousands of workers and entire sectors of the economy. These captains of industry, or robber barons as they were sometimes called, were central to both the triumphs and the tribulations of the Industrial Revolution.
The electric light, patented by Thomas Edison in 1879, was a transformative invention that illuminated homes, streets, and factories, extending working hours and further accelerating industrial growth. Edison's Menlo Park laboratory was an invention factory, churning out patents and innovations that profoundly shaped daily life and industry. The widespread adoption of electricity marked a new phase of the Industrial Revolution, providing a cleaner, more versatile power source than steam. Alexander Graham Bell's invention of the telephone in 1876 revolutionized communication, facilitating business transactions, connecting distant communities, and fundamentally altering social interaction. The telephone, like electricity, was not just a technological marvel. It was an infrastructure builder, creating new industries and jobs and shrinking the vast distances of America. Its rapid adoption underscored the American embrace of technological progress.
The rise of mass production, spearheaded by figures like Henry Ford in the early 20th century, epitomized the ultimate expression of industrial efficiency. While technically beyond the core period of the initial Industrial Revolution, Ford's assembly line built upon earlier principles of interchangeable parts and specialized labor.
It dramatically reduced the cost and time of manufacturing complex goods like automobiles, making them accessible to a wider segment of the population and truly democratizing consumption. This vision of affordable goods and widespread ownership became a powerful component of the modern American dream. However, the rapid pace of industrialization came at a significant cost. Cities swelled with rural migrants and millions of immigrants seeking work, leading to overcrowding, inadequate housing, poor sanitation, and the proliferation of urban slums. Tenements became synonymous with poverty and disease, challenging the optimistic vision of the American dream for many newcomers. The stark contrast between the lavish lives of industrialists and the squalor of the working class fueled social unrest and calls for reform. Factory work itself was often dangerous and dehumanizing. Long hours, low wages, child labor, and a lack of safety regulations were commonplace. Workers faced grueling conditions, repetitive tasks, and the constant threat of injury or death, all while having little to no say in their terms of employment. The dream of upward mobility often clashed with the grim reality of industrial labor.
Child labor was a particularly grim aspect of this era. Faced with poverty, many families relied on the meager wages of their children, who worked in mines, mills, and factories, often performing dangerous tasks for pennies a day. This exploitation was a dark stain on the industrial landscape, undermining the promise of a brighter future for the next generation. In response to these appalling conditions, labor unions began to emerge as a collective voice for workers. Organizations like the Knights of Labor and later the American Federation of Labor, AFL, fought for better wages, shorter hours, and safer working conditions. Their struggles were often met with fierce resistance from industrialists and government authorities, leading to violent strikes and confrontations that highlighted the deep class divisions of the era. The Haymarket Affair, 1886, and the Pullman Strike, 1894, are grim reminders of the bloodshed that often accompanied the fight for workers' rights. The environmental impact of unbridled industrialization was also severe. Factories spewed smoke and pollutants into the air, rivers became open sewers, and natural resources were extracted at an alarming rate. The once pristine American wilderness began to bear the scars of progress, raising early concerns about conservation and the long-term sustainability of such rapid growth.
Despite these challenges, the Industrial Revolution undeniably expanded the middle class. As industries grew and new sectors emerged, there was a demand for skilled managers, engineers, clerks, and professionals. These new white-collar jobs offered stability, better pay, and upward mobility, contributing to the development of a consumer culture and a more comfortable lifestyle for a growing segment of the population. The rise of department stores and advertising catered to this new class, offering an array of mass-produced goods. Immigration was another defining feature of the Industrial Revolution. Millions of immigrants from Europe and later Asia flocked to America, drawn by the promise of jobs and a chance at a better life, the American dream. They provided a vast and often cheap labor force, fueling industrial growth, but also facing discrimination, exploitation, and immense cultural challenges. Their contributions, though often overlooked, were vital to building the industrial infrastructure of the nation. The expansion of the electrical grid and the widespread adoption of electrical appliances in the early 20th century further transformed daily life, bringing convenience and modernity to many homes. This marked a shift from industrial production as the sole focus to the electrification of everyday existence, further embedding the fruits of industrialization into the American household. The rise of the skyscraper, made possible by steel construction and the invention of the elevator, symbolized America's growing economic power and urban aspirations. These towering structures redefined city skylines, becoming monuments to industrial might and the endless pursuit of progress and height. They embodied the ambition that drove the nation.